We don't want any interruptions during this gentleman's presentation. You guys are in for some serious higher learning and education today. I have a lot of respect for this gentleman. He's very humble, very down to earth. But when I tell you guys got a special invite today because somebody cared enough about you to share with you the knowledge that this man has. He won't tell you, but you're talking about a guy that's been in this industry for over 30 years. Started with $10 and has grown in excess of $600 million in revenue with his companies. That's $600 million from $10. Who agree? Who would agree that's a big return on your investment? That's a big return on your investment. Yes. This guy's highly respected all across the country as someone that you want to follow when it comes to cash flow management, when it comes to economics. Because who would agree? We all pretty much today want to be happy, get finances behind us so we can live our lives. Everybody makes sense, right? So I want you guys to understand, this guy has a heart of gold. He is hilarious. He'll make you laugh even if he doesn't mean to, because he's just so down to earth, so humble, but he has a winning spirit, a heart of gold, and loves to help people. And that's what we're all about, getting our finances as the issue out the way and learning what wealthy people do. So help me bring up the one and only Mr. Ivy Stokes.
Good job. Yes, sir. How's everybody doing today? All right. Lots of smiling faces, huh? Okay, you can't work your way to financial success. You got to have a strategy. Does that make sense for everybody? So what we do, MyEcon is in the business of actually helping people attain that. You know, where many companies, their situation is that you sell a product, you recruit people, and somehow you hope that ends up giving you financial success. Does that make sense? And it can make you money, but it doesn't necessarily make you financial. You see athletes all the time, they make a lot of money, but if they don't use a strategy, they're not going to have financial success, are they? All right, so let's go, Dan. We're good to go. Now, MyEcon is a debt-free, technology-driven company based here in Atlanta. We currently have over 50,000 associates around the country. We do business with over 100 Fortune 500 companies, and we've enjoyed many years of profitability and success in this company. Now, in addition, our mission statement is simple but powerful, and that's to help people attain financial success. Now, that's a different number for everybody. Some people are perfectly happy on $50,000 a year, aren't they? Some need $100,000, some need $250,000, everybody's got their number, it doesn't matter. But here's what everybody has in common. The money to support our lifestyle is going to come from two sources, okay? Now that's for everybody. The first source is our labor. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're working a job, if you're building a business. You ever heard the old saying about just start your business and you got the financial success? But that's not quite correct, is it? No, because if you get a business, you're probably working more than people that's got a job, especially if you're full-time just doing that business. So it doesn't matter if you're working a job or if you're building a business, that's your labor, that's source one income. But at some point in your life, you're not going to work. Is that correct? Now, when you stop working, the money to support your lifestyle's got to come from your assets or your investments. Those can be in the form of stocks, bonds, real estate, 401ks, annuities, basically any type of financial vehicle that generates ongoing income, okay? So the concept is very simple. We've got to earn enough cash flow during our working years to support our lifestyle, but simultaneously, while we're doing that, we've got to invest enough money so when we stop working, our assets will generate enough income to continue in that same lifestyle. Everybody's got to get that done, don't they? Now, here's the deal. The formula is about 10 times your desired annual retirement income. So if a person's making $50,000, they want to retire on $50,000, they're going to need at least $500,000, about $500,000 in their investment account. You're making $50,000 today, you got $500,000 in your investment account, you stop working. So now you're getting 8 to 10% from the $500,000 that generates the same income that you were making when you're working. Now that's the idea of financial success, isn't it? Okay, everybody got that's real. That's what we're all building. Now, in the generation past, they didn't have to worry about that too much for the last 50 years. Why? Idea was go to school, get a good education, get a good job that had benefits. One of the benefits was what? A pension plan. That's the whole idea. So even the government knows that what we're talking about is the way that life really works, isn't it? But now, most pension plans are gone, aren't they? So most people now, they got to build the source one income, and they got to build a source two income, don't they? Now, sometimes people say, well, Ivy, can't I just go talk to a financial advisor and learn how to do this? Well, sure, you can go talk to a financial advisor. They can tell you exactly what you need to do. But the financial advisor is basically for people who already have the money. Unfortunately, that's less than 5% of the people in the country. Is that correct? So what we do is we have a complete system from A to Z that's going to help you get the money, and it's going to show you how to invest that money to build that retirement plan. Everybody got it? All right, so let's go forward. Now, obviously, if you're going to accomplish that, you're going to need strong cash flow, and you're going to need smart strategies, aren't you? So we have 3 smart cash flow strategies to help all of our associates accomplish that. The first is minimize taxes. Number 2, earn business income. Number 3, our cash flow success cycle. Now, let's look at each of these in more detail, okay? First, minimize taxes. Now, minimize taxes is a very important cash flow strategy because the typical American loses about 1/3 of their income during their working years. Think about it. You make $50,000 a year for 40 years, household income, you're going to make $2 million in your lifetime. You make $100,000 a year for your lifetime working, you're going to make $4 million. How much of that is the government going to take? 1/3. So if you got $100,000 income, they're going to take over $1 million from you. If you make $2 million in your working lifetime, they're going to take about $650,000. So the first thing we do in My Econ is we show everybody how to get some more cash in their pocket, okay? And we call that correct tax withholding. Now, according to the IRS, 80% of all the people in this country have their withholding tax forms filled out incorrectly. That's the federal form is a W-4, and then each state has a corresponding form. Now, if people will simply adjust that W-4, according to the IRS, the typical people will pick up in this country for between $300 and $500 additional cash take-home pay. Now, some people will think, well, yeah, if I do that, I'm going to actually owe money at the end of the year. But if you got a home-based business, you got more tax deductions, you're not going to owe at the end of the year. So think about this strategy. We say it's life-changing. What if somebody actually picked up an additional $500 a month take-home pay? If they took that $500 and put it into their 401k, 403b, or some other tax-deductible expense, that would give them an additional $6,000 deduction, wouldn't it? Okay? What if somebody did that for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? What would happen to their finances? They would start to grow an asset, wouldn't they? So that's the first strategy. Now, the second strategy we use is business deductions, okay? Now, business owners, how you doing today, Ms. Kennedy? Good to see you again. Now, business owners have access to hundreds of tax deductions that employees don't have. Now, when you say business owners have access to hundreds of tax deductions that employees don't have access to, sometimes people look at that and they get a little upset. They're like, well, I don't think that's right. You know, why they get to take these deductions, we don't, okay? Instead of saying, oh, that's great, now you can have both, but they don't think about it that way, okay? But let's just take a look at it in more detail. It's not unusual because if you're buying a home, don't you get tax deductions that somebody won't get if they're renting a home? So what's the big deal? If you're buying a home, you get a write-off interest, right? You get a write-off property taxes, right? But if you're renting a home right next door, the same kind of house, paying more rent than the person that's right next door to you is paying in the mortgage, they don't get a tax write-off, do they? So it's always been an example where some people got something that they qualified for and somebody else didn't get it. Am I correct? So if an employee drives his or her car back and forth to work every day, they incur an expense, right? But they can't get a tax deduction for it, can they? If an employee uses his or her cell phone every day, they incur an expense, right? But they can't get a deduction. But if you flip it over, if a business owner drives his or her car in conjunction with building their business, they get a tax write-off. You can get that write-off 2 ways. You can take mileage at about 55 cents a mile. So if you drive 20,000 miles a year, you write off half of that mileage at 55 cents. That's about $5,500 in deductions, right? So you made 50 on your job. The government said you still got the money, but they say you only made 45.5. Okay? What about your cell phone? What about internet access? What about meals and entertainment? I mean, how much money is spent in this country every year on football games? But now, if you want to talk to if you got a business and you talk to some people at your tailgate party about football or your Super Bowl party that's coming up pretty soon, right? It's all tax deductible. Now, so wouldn't it be smart for somebody to say, you know, if somebody ever had this thought, and tens of millions of people have had this thought in this country, I'm going to buy me a house so I can get tax deductions that I don't get when I rent. and I'm going to be able to build equity in my house. Millions of people have that thought, right? And they acted upon it. So wouldn't it be logical for somebody to say, I'm going to start me a business so I can get some deductions that I can't get being just an employee? You can still be an employee. You still got your job security. And I tell people there's no reason to quit your job because a job is a blessing. What we want to do is give you the ability to bring home more net money from your job. Does that make sense? Now that's a secure, easy way to build your financial life, isn't it? All right, let's go a step further. Now, so the IRS requires everybody to keep good business records. Now, one more thing about business deductions, okay? Let's think about it this way. Aren't we already spending the money? We're already spending the money for the car. We already got the cell phone. We already got the internet access. We're already eating out. We're already going on vacations. We're already going to family reunions. We're already going out of town for the holidays. So what if you're spending $15,000 a year on those things anyway, and now you could deduct them? Now that would be smart business, wouldn't it? Now that would be a smart strategy. So if that saved you $3,500 to $10,000 a year, year after year after year, and then you took that money that you saved on taxes that was going to the government and you invested that money or used that money to pay off your debt, wouldn't that be life-changing? All right, that's the idea that we want here, okay? Now the IRS requires to keep records to do that. We make that simple for you in MyEcon. Instead of having to go and find a way to get that done, talk to somebody about getting it done, trying to ask what you need to deduct, guess what? We put it all in the system because financial success is our business, right? We got millions of products, but that's not our business. Our number one product is a service with a support network that helps people attain financial success. And in my opinion, it's the number one product on earth. Think about it. People praying about it, talking about it, fasting over it, crying over it, complaining about it. Am I correct? Is it the number one product? Yes. That's what everybody wants, isn't it? That's the only reason we got to work is financial success. All right, so let's take a look at our software. Now, we make it easy for everybody to keep their tax records, okay? Instead of, here's what we did. We have a software system that we call the Tax Flow Manager. The Tax Flow Manager or Cash Flow Manager is simple because the person that's using it, you don't have to know anything about taxes and you don't have to know anything about accounting. It's just like Click Technology for your computer. Some of you will remember this, some won't. But if you remember, back in the 80s, if you used a computer, you had to type in all the actions. Am I correct? You had everything that happened, you had to type it in. Not many people were interested in computers back then. I know I wasn't, right? But when they put a little picture up there, a little icon and say click, 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 and the computer did all the work in the background, that changed the world, didn't it? It really wasn't a computer, it was Click Technology giving everybody access to the computer, wasn't it? So we do the same thing, okay? Now, to put entries in, you don't have to know about accounting, you don't have to go to a long class, you don't have to study. All you do is go to the software, let's do that. 5 simple entries. You go to a drop-down menu, there's 46 entries in there. And you pick the category, advertising, cell phones, internet access, meals and entertainment, travel, whatever your category is for that expense. Does that make sense? You type in the amount of the expense, who you paid the money to, what it was for, everybody knows that, and where the expense took place, online, address, wherever you spent the money. Now, all you do is click Save Entry, computer does all the work and gives us this report. That's what the IRS and that's what your tax preparer is looking for. Print that out, download it, and you're done with taxes. Now that's smart, isn't it? That's what we want to do. Over and over and over again. And once you do it one time, you can do it every time. All right, let's go to the second strategy. The second strategy we use is business income. Building a business. Now I always say that MyEcon is the perfect home-based business. A lot of good businesses out there. I think ours is perfect because it needs no training. Almost everybody has already done what's required to make money in MyEcon.